everybody.
Wow.
So this is the first episode of our second season, and we just want to say welcome to everybody.
Hello.
As you know, we never come alone, or most times. We have a very, very, very special guest today. Our brothers in the house. This is Pastor Sunny Obriki.
Hello, everyone.
Pastor, introduce yourself to the people.
Wow. What should I say? Well, she said it all. My name is Sunny Obriki. Well, as I'm known, Pastor Sunny Obriki. And it's nice to be with you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Very, very excited to have having him with us today. So today we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. It's interesting. It may not be for everybody, but I think in some way everybody is touched by it because it's related to purpose. It's related to why we are here.
Yes.
And I hope that somebody will take something away from it. So today we're talking about how God takes our mess and turns it into our ministry. Right? So we're talking about ministry today.
Jeremiah 11:29, that he knows the plans he has for us. It's not to harm us. No. It's not. It's to give us a good future, to prosper us. But you must be ready, like what you said, that sometimes people don't come to God, because when you come to God, God is like that mirror.
Yes.
The word of God is like that mirror that will tell you, it's like it will convict you. Hey, that's not the way.
Yes.
That's not the way. So because of people don't want to let go.
That's the issue.
So that's why they find it difficult to, walk in their purpose.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
I think your story is such an intense one, and it's the perfect example of today's topic.
A mess to ministry.
Yeah.
It's a mess to ministry. One of the things that you said that just really stuck with me is the notion that like the satisfaction or rather a mess is living outside of your purpose.
Yes.
That's a mess. And it's a mess because you're dysfunctional.
Yes.
It's like a broken toaster. If a toaster can't toast bread, it has no use, If a kettle can't boil water, you throw it out, So the mess that most of our lives are in is because we are living a life outside of what we're meant to be living for. We're in a mess. We are dysfunctional. We're not functioning the way that we're supposed to. And for me, that was such a powerful statement, because isn't that the state of the world right now? And then what happens when we are like that? Because we are dysfunctional, we go and we seek structure in all the wrong things. We think it's going to be people that make us function better. We think it's going to be substances that make us function better. We think it's going to be money that makes us function better. But then you have a society where you have people who are living wealthy, rich people who are unhappy. You get people who have everything but they're depressed.
Yes.
And the reason always comes back to that. Dysfunction. And dysfunction comes from living outside of your purpose. Living outside of the will of God. So that was so powerful. Such a powerful description of what a mess is.
And to show you that purpose is really trumps everything else. Pastor Sunny just said he's been through a lot for the past 23 years, right?
In his
in his ministry, but it's still worth it.
Worth it, yes.
Like if you can say that about anything, you can understand the conviction behind.
Exactly. That you wouldn't turn back. You wouldn't. Like, given anything, you would never say, I want to go back to how things were before I found God. And he's right. It's not easy. Nobody should paint the picture that just because you step into purpose or your mess becomes better.
You're a Christian then.
You're a Christian in life it's not easy. Even Jesus said it himself. You will have trouble. It's the way of the world.
True.
But there's something completely different about living purposefully and having the trouble in Christ that empowers you to be able to carry the load. It's so different to living outside of it, where it's just, that becomes your state of being. There's no joy, So, wow, what a powerful testimony, And you, Shishi, we've spoken a lot about your testimony and about how God really helped you from, the mental illnesses that you battled with and just your self-esteem and all of that. Round up for us how you feel God took that mess and linked it to your purpose and then linked it to your ministry.
Sure. I'm still trying to figure it out.
Every day.
Honestly,
Yeah.
Every day.
I really cannot tell you that I think I wrestled with God quite a bit in the last 2 years, because I didn't fully believe that what I think He's called me for is what I'm capable of being, who I'm capable of being. You know, I didn't feel equipped for it. You know, every day I keep saying, I think you chose the wrong person. I think you chose the wrong person. You know,
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's so foreign to me, or it's so foreign to who I thought I was. You know, who I thought I should be. You know, as someone who struggled a lot mentally, it's hard to find value, you know, or worth really. And when God says you're worthy, you must know you really are. There's no gray areas there. That's who He calls you to be, and that's who you are. You know, so for me that is still the struggle. But my mess, of course, was just being a shadow, just being in the background and wanting to be invisible. You know, and really orchestrating that as well. Like I just didn't want to be spoken to, acknowledged in any way. Just severe self-loathing, you know, and to be put in a position where God is like, I want you in front, you know, I don't want you hiding anymore, is a wrestle for me on a daily basis. And the ministry part of it, or the beauty about it really, is how He carries me in that moment. You know, sometimes I look at, you know, the stuff that I do from a ministry perspective, in teaching and sharing the word, because that is really truly my passion, you know, even though it scares me half the time when I do it, but I love doing it. It's natural, you know, it's not forced. And when I always see myself outside of it, it's like, that's not you. That's not normal. That's supernatural.
Yes.
It can't
Yes.
be normal, you know. So it's still a wrestle, like I said, but I think I'm coming to it slowly, learning to embrace that this is who He says I am. Doesn't matter what I think about it, doesn't matter what other people think about it, whether I'm worthy of it or not, whether I'm capable. I'm not even knowledgeable, you know, of the Bible. Like, I don't have a theology degree, I'm not learned in any way. But He seems to think I'm capable of doing it, and I just need to walk with Him step by step and allow Him to do what He needs to do through me. So yeah,
Powerful.
Amen. Yeah.
And I love that. It's another important part where purpose is concerned, that yes, you are gifted, God has given you the gifts, and yes, God has given us the ability to be able to live in that purpose. But when we do live in purpose in the will of God, it's not you doing anything. Automatically, it's like you relinquish yourself to Him. And He's like a puppeteer, you know, just controlling. And all you have to do is say yes. Be willing, you know. He just wants a willing vessel, somebody who's willing to say, I'm here, I'm yours, use me.
Because He can work with anything.
He works with anything, you know, and He shows up and He does all the work, you know. So yes, we are purposed for a reason, and when we go to Him and He shows us what that thing is, even when you are living out your life purposefully, it's not you doing it. He's doing it through you, because you have allowed Him to, you know, have control over your life to do it. And that's why on most days it feels like, this is not me. You feel like, how am I doing that? You know? Does it feel like that for you too?
No,
sometimes?
it does, because, you know, sometimes you wake up and say, oh, how am I going to do this now? You know? But the beauty about it is that you are rest assured that, you know, the one who called you, the one who chose you, you know, He's going to really make it happen.
Exactly.
How? Where? When? We don't know. He can just, wake up this morning and go this way. And all of a sudden, things that you were not expecting will start happening.
Exactly.
See, look at what happened in the time of Peter. When they were living their own, doing their own will and everything, business, they were stranded. It was a mess. They toiled the whole night. They did nothing. But Jesus Christ came and said, no, throw the net that way. You see, throw it that way and deep. And they caught what they never caught. So it's something supernatural. The good thing about living in God's, you know, plan, He directs. He directs. You know, when you do God's will, definitely
Yeah.
divine
Yes.
direction comes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Divine direction comes,
And
and that's great.
it's very
Yeah.
important. It's what we touched on also, to be called.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there are a lot of people functioning in a space where they think they've been called to do something, but they actually haven't been. And that in itself creates a mess.
Yeah.
You know?
Frustration.
And frustration,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
how do you know you're called? Unfortunately, you can't. I like to use the example of, you can't call somebody and they hear you if they're miles
Yeah.
away. You have to be close to me to hear that I'm calling you to something.
Mhm.
So in everything that we do, our proximity to God, how close we are to God and His will for us, will help us determine what it is we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, and hear the voice of God speak clearly. You know, hear it clearly. His direction, His calling, His will be clearer to us the closer we step to God.
Yeah.
You know,
True.
and I think in a lot of ways we get this wrong sometimes, and that's why sometimes you try something and you're like, no, I thought it was this, no, it wasn't that. Try something else, no, it wasn't that. And that just because I think that we don't hear from God because we're not close enough to hearing from Him. And our hearts also, I think ministry is also about your heart posture, you know, intention, because remember, God does not look at the outside, He looks at the inside. And I think sometimes our intentions in ministry sometimes are misaligned, you know, and we think we are going to do something because it's going to benefit us in one way or another. And then we think that God will support that, you know, and unfortunately we realize down the road that I didn't call you for that. Why did you go do that? I didn't tell you to do that, and it all falls apart, you know. So we must be called, but for us to be called, we must be close. You know, we must be close to our source. We can't expect to hear from God if we don't relate with Him.
True.
You know, for me, I think it's difficult because I don't know. I don't see myself. I often say I no,
Because she's always been Mrs. Fixin. She's always had a head on right.
You know what I think? I think my mess has always been that. I think my mess has always been control. You know, my mess has always been thinking I can fix everything myself. Yeah, I think that's been my mess. My mess has been thinking that I've got it. Me, my hands, my strength. You know, to a point that I never used to let people in. I never used to let people take the load because I always thought, no, I can handle this myself. You know, so I think when I met God, I met Him in a place where literally everything was falling apart. And for a person who thinks that they have everything together, that's the worst place to. It's the worst place to experience God when
you don't need anything.
When you don't need anything, you know, and then He really shows you because you will be finished. And all your plans and all your intelligence and all your wisdom that you think you have doesn't help you, you know. And I think God had to get me to that place many times, many times, for Him to refine my ability to surrender, you know, because He couldn't work with me in that state. He couldn't work with me without a surrendered heart, you know. So He really had to teach me. He's still teaching me. I still struggle with it sometimes. But
Still in the school of learning.
I'm still learning.
Forever. Maybe forever.
I'm telling you.
The school of learning.
I'm telling you, you know. So I think He came and He made me understand that, first of all, I'm God, not you. I know what your plans are. I know where I'm taking you. You have to follow me, you know. You don't decide what you do, who you do it with, when you do it. You don't decide who you keep, who you don't. It's all me. And the first place that He worked on that was with my heart, because I was a very resentful person. Like, I was a very angry, like I had a chip on my shoulder, you know, and I wasn't ashamed to show it. I didn't care what you thought, but I was very resentful, very bitter, and unforgiving. Very, very unforgiving, you know. And He really, really had to break me to the point that I had to learn that for me to function fully in the ministry He has for me, you know, in the purposes He has for me, I have to release all of the anger, all of the hate, all of the bitterness. I have to release it and find freedom, because I will never be free to hear from Him if I'm not free from all the things that I was bottling up.
And can I just add, in line with your ministry,
Yeah.
based on your mess, that of course we are human beings, we are normal, just because we're Christian doesn't mean we're superhuman.
Yes,
No.
of course.
We have
True.
disagreements at home,
Yeah.
Yes,
but
yes.
my sister is often the peacemaker in our house now,
Mhm.
So how God can turn somebody who used to be so unforgiving to be able to be the mender,
Mm.
to restore,
Absolutely.
Blessed are the
and even
peacemakers.
with her
Yeah.
interactions with
Mm.
other people, she's always trying to find peaceable ways, peaceable
ground.
common ground,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've noticed that.
Well, no.
But I
The
know.
purpose. The purpose. Yeah, the purpose. That's the purpose. That's why she is created. Because she found it coming closer to
Yeah.
God, having an encounter.
Yes.
That's like what you said. You can't call yourself.
Yeah.
We have this self-acclaimed,
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
title,
Yes.
this and that.
Yeah, self-made.
Self-made. You
Yeah.
understand? No. With God,
There's no such.
self must be away.
It's true, eh?
John said, I want to go down so that you can go up, you'll be
Yeah.
increased. So God works like this. He lives in high and holy place, good, but with the brokenhearted, the contrite in spirit. Who are the brokenhearted? People who have really understood that no, you've really done a serious, internal work and say, you know what? I need God.
Yeah.
I need God. Because one thing many don't understand is that sometimes some of the reason why we don't receive
Yeah.
is that God is the one resisting us.
Exactly.
It's not the devil.
So true.
Because he said he will resist the proud
Yeah.
and he will exalt the humble.
So true.
So like what you were saying, that's how this works. The moment you say it's me, myself, and I, okay, fine.
Yeah, he leaves you.
Yeah,
He lets
he
you.
leaves you.
Because it's not forceful.
No.
Yeah.
He leaves you. God resists. He will resist you to the extent when you now, go down. The prodigal son, he was living a wild life and everything. Okay, fine. But the moment he went to eat with the pigs, he came back to the Bible says he came back to his senses. Humbleness.
Yeah.
Then he went home. The father took him.
Yeah.
Exalted
And
him.
exalted him.
Sure.
That's what God does.
That's what God does.
And I think that's another question that a lot of people often ask themselves: why does a good God allow bad things to happen?
True.
It's often from that state that God allows us, and mind you, a lot of the bad that happens is not because of God, and yes, of course, He has the power to stop anything, and He's God and all of that, but most of the messes we find ourselves in, we put ourselves in one way or another, either ourselves or interactions with other people, but it's people.
Yes.
Free will.
Free will.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Choice.
No, choices. Yeah.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, we have to account for those things.
Yeah.
But what's so beautiful about God and His grace and just His ability to really fix anything is the fact that even if we have put ourselves in those messes, your mess, my mess, your mess, if we come to Him, and like you said, in humility, and say, Lord, this was the mess, this is what happened, this is what I was, I don't know what to do with it, help me. He never, ever, ever says no.
Yeah.
And when He does exalt you, it will shock you.
Yeah.
It will blow your mind. And I keep saying this every time I'm behind this camera. We need to stop thinking that exaltation means money. We need to stop thinking that exaltation means material success. No.
Nah.
In the kingdom, it doesn't mean those things. It means a life of joy. And a joyful life is a life that is happy regardless of your circumstances. It's a life that doesn't require anything around you to be a certain way for you to have peace. Don't you have a different peace now?
Wow.
To the peace you had, to the life you had
the
before?
peace I have, I might not have the millions, properties, but I have peace. I'm happily married. I don't have stress. I'm not addicted to any substance. If I sit talking, I can fall asleep. With what people take tablet to sleep. But He says He gives His, the ones He loves sleep, rest. So I have that rest. I have peace. I don't need a tube to pass things into my body to eat. No, I have peace. Challenges are there, but I have peace. We will face a lot of things, but God is there with us. So that's the peace. When He was sleeping in the boat, there was storm and everything, but He was busy sleeping. Peaceful. It's like a child. You carry your child doesn't care whether there is rain, there is what. He knows something or someone
Taking care of
is
it.
protecting. So that's the peace of God.
And you should would you turn it back? Would you want to go back to the mess?
Like, never. You couldn't even pay me money to go back. Like, you know when you know without a doubt there's nothing there for you.
No.
If you were to look back, there's nothing there. You know, and like Pastor Sunny saying, I used to struggle with sleep a lot. I was borderline insomniac, you know.
You see?
And I'm in a place where I can sleep. For me, I think that was also the biggest change that I noticed after my transformation was the fact that I could put my head on a pillow and just go straight to bed. You know, and just also this notion of you cease to strive when you are walking in God's will. There's no striving. You're not out here trying to counter a plan with
You
a
understand?
plan. You know, you're just living life and trusting God. And that's what He wants all of His children.
True.
Because the thing is, He's the master of everything.
Thank you.
So He can fix anything.
Yeah.
We just need to understand or say to Him, okay, please fix it. Because He cannot force Himself onto us, unfortunately. You know? And of course, just like is the title of our podcast, Brokenness Meets Grace. You know? God met each of us in our different messes, and we are living out the ministry that came from that mess, you know, and it's aligned to the gifts God has given us. Pastor Sunny has always been a good speaker. You know, he was busy telling girls who meet them at church, convincing his peers and husbands.
And we all went there.
They all went, you know. So the gift of the gap, he always had it. But now He uses it for the purposes and the will of God, to empower others with the Word of God, to empower others with not even just the Bible, but when He speaks, he motivates, you know, He counsels, He gives people advice, and that's using the gifts that were God-given, like you said, the natural gifts that He's always had, but use them to align them to the will of God. And it's a totally different life, you know. Shishi, her mess was just being isolated, you know, always alone, always not wanting to be seen, not wanting to be heard. And God was like, I've given you gifts, and unfortunately they cannot be hidden. They must come to the fore, you know, for my purposes and for my will. And in whatever way, my ability to be able, or rather through the Spirit, my ability to be able to surrender, to trust Him more, to not be so self-sufficient, so independent in my own strength, to be forgiving, to learn to release things, is allowing me to learn about more, you know, so that I can give more for His purposes as well. I'm a lot freer to actually hear the Lord speak and inspire me, because I'm not carrying so much.
And delegate as well.
You know, and that all comes from the fact that I had to release. I was carrying so much that God could not work within me. How can you give something to somebody who doesn't have any room to carry it? True. And that was my mess. And He came and He made our mess into a ministry. He came and He mended our brokenness with His grace. And He can do it for any one of you. Anybody who says they want to, God can do that.
Amen.
So thank you so much. Do you want to say any parting words?
All I can say is that you can listen to these beautiful ladies, right? You hear them speaking is because, you know, they've taken that decision to say, you know what, we leave it all to God. And these are beautiful sisters of mine. You see, God is using them greatly, and I'm so proud of them. I'm telling you, so proud of them, because honestly speaking, I know their lives and see what God is doing. Man, listen, trust in God, and He will do it for you also. So my final word is, you know, let us work hard to be in God's plan. He will not come and look for you. You have to avail yourself. You have to avail yourself. Once you avail yourself, then He will reveal also Himself, which is called an encounter. So this is what I have. Thank you very much for this opportunity, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Pastor Sunny for being a part of the show today. Please comment, share your thoughts. Shishi, any closing thoughts?
No, I think we've covered everything. Hey,
thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Remember to walk with God, stay close to Him, be aligned with Him, so that He can reveal His plans for you. They are great plans.
Yes.
Great plans. And I love what Pastor Sunny said about the fact that the enemy knows them too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so one way or another, your purposes will be used for good or for evil.
Yeah.
You know, because you were born to be great in one thing. You know,
Yes.
so just give them all to God, and please remember,
It may be broken, but it's in the hands of the potter. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.